Along with Margaret, I'm the director of the Glastonbury Centre, and we have been, as an organisation, have organised this. So welcome, you'll hear the first talk, we're expecting many more. And I'm just going to very quickly introduce John Cousins, our mayor, who's going to say a few words, and then we'll hand over to Margaret, who's going to introduce our fabulous first speaker, who wears the t-shirts as well. So John Cousins, who is been the mayor several times, has made a tremendous contribution to Glastonbury in all sorts of different ways, in terms of civic contribution, but also from a pilgrimage perspective. There's at least 10 of them, John, but I won't have time to talk about that. So I'm very grateful that the mayor has the commitment to come here to open this beginning set of talks and to say a few words. John, over to you.
Well, I can't tell you how delighted I am in this event having today. When I first joined the council in 2011, many didn't have the word pilgrimage in any of their plans, strategies, documents, nothing at all. And Glastonbury Town Council didn't even have a strategy for tourism. And so I raised, in my first year, the idea of a committee for the Town Council called the Pilgrimage and Tourism Committee. Like that, Pilgrimage and Tourism Committee. And one of the most esteemed members of the council, John Brunson, MP, stood up and he said, I don't know what all this And Glastonbury calls and we come. That is really true. Glastonbury has been calling ever since human beings have been here. Glastonbury calls. We know the earliest people to come here came before the Great Ice Age. Their evidence is on top of the chalk. They came, but they didn't stay. They came, they did something, and they left. That something, I feel, is very similar to what calls us today to come here. It's a pilgrimage. No one lived on this island until, I like to think, 1837, and the evidence of that is a well which you could throw a stone into from here. And that well is dated at late Iron Age. And it's the first sign of any habitation of this land, this sacred land. I like to think that I know the 13 people who dug that well. And that well was next to an amazing building, the Wagon Church. Some people like to think that was Mary's place on earth, prepared by God. Very supernatural place in the heart of Glastonbury. A great attractor that then attracted thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people over the years. For 1,502 years, people were attracted to this place in pilgrimage. Even the pigeons like to come, they don't come. It's okay, it's got a secret message for you.
It's the dog. If you put lines down, one thing down, then find the lines, you put the lines
Spectacular.
And then in 1539, something else happened. 1539, a different sort of agenda that came in for this place. An agenda that could appear to be in conflict with that great attractor. An agenda that wanted this place to be a small industrial market town. And that's the kind of image of dialogue that went on for many years. And we had Clark Sons in Moreland come here, and we were known for other things, you know, fair pink sheepskin coats for people, etc. And then something remarkable happened around about 1950s. A man called Geoffrey Ash wrote a book called King Arthur's Outlaw. And I think that's a pivotal moment in our story. And people started to remember what Glastonbury is. And we're still in that process, remembering where we are, who we are in this place. See, for those 1,502 years, when you turned up, Father David would meet you and go, hello, pilgrim, tourist, or lost. And I said, well, could be lost. Oh, we're really going to speak to a father, put your hands over here. We have none of that. There was no way of receiving anybody in this town who was here for any other reason than sort of buy a sheepskin coat or to look at the ruins. And something remarkable happened in 2007, the Pilgrim Reception Centre. What an incredible thing in this town, just remarkable. And that started to set the tone again for bringing people who are here for other reasons. For that call, Glastonbury is calling and they are coming. They're always going to come. And the only thing we can do about that is to work out how we can greet them in the best way. And that is why it's so remarkable that now pilgrimage is on the agenda for many district council. It's certainly on the agenda for the town council. And I'm so delighted that you and the pigeon are here today.
Elizabeth Bank, who is the originator of that building reception. Can you just stop a second?
pilgrimage is in place, it's in space, but it's also in time, and it is the eve of May Day, and so I thought I'd start with a song, just sort of introduce it. Quite simple, it's quite quick, it's like a mantra, and so don't be tired, you start singing when you want to, don't want to stop trying. Yes. Summer is here, turn and return, unite and unite, summer is come. Dance and be merry, tomorrow's May morning, join with us all to greet the sun. Summer is here, turn and return, unite and unite, summer is come. Dance and be merry, tomorrow's May morning, join with us all to greet the sun. Summer is here, turn and return, unite and unite, summer is come. Dance and be merry, tomorrow's May morning, join with us all and greet the sun. Obviously, today is I've got two good opportunities for this. So, this talk has been called The Origins of Pilgrimage, and I will speak about the history of pilgrimage in quite a quick way to origins for today, and what we can know about that. But really, this talks about getting to the essence of what pilgrimage is, in its manifold ways. There's so many aspects of it, and so really, I'm looking at the origins of the success of pilgrimage, if that makes sense. And being Glastonbury, I'm pretty sure I'm talking to quite a knowledgeable audience. So some of this might seem simple, but I'm trying to make it simple, because I really feel that if we're going to create a movement around pilgrimage, the messages have to be understood by everyone. And so boiling it down to like what it's really about is what I'm trying to do here. So you basically we're going to talk about the benefits of pilgrimage, why it actually is, why pilgrimage is a good thing to do, and what the British Pilgrimage Trust are doing to make it accessible. So here is the ancient origins of pilgrimage. So if you think of salmon and scarling, they travel thousands of miles, they leave their home, they leave the place they were born, they travel thousands of miles, and then they come back. Arguably, some of the more original pilgrims there. Then the first human pilgrims were like hunter-gatherers, and they were doing in search of landscapes that were appropriate for food at the right time of the year. So they settled in different parts of during summer or winter, and they would be following well-used tracks and ridgeways, pathways, and so like, especially ones that are easily navigable, like geological ridges, like the Ridgeway, North, South Downs Way. Then you've got another kind of route, which is the lane line route, and also like the Michael line, which goes to all of our mountains on. Is a good example of one of these big lanes. And lane lines, some people think they're sort of a bit like questionable stuff. They're not really questionable in the sense you've got these waymarks joined up in a line, and so you can see where your next place is. Now, of course, we didn't have sat-nav in those days, so I remember maps right here about thousands of years ago. So if you're coming from Europe or some tin, and you want to move, you want to land at Cornwall, you want to get to Hull. How do you do that? I mean, how do you do it? It's the most amazing thing to think about. And so you find these landmarks that link to each other. But then, of course, it doesn't tell you where you are, it doesn't tell you when you've got to turn and move to a different direction. So places like Hayward, which actually has the most, it sees the most of Britain from that centre. You can sort of draw a straight line, it sees the most of Britain. So that could be like a hard point where people meet, and then you might find someone say, you go to Hull, they're like, yeah, and give some money, and then they go and take you, and they tell you where to turn left, sort of thing. But stone circles, they could be like compasses in the land, we just don't really know that. That's quite complex too, but it's all in this book, Megalithic Empire, by Jerry Harper, I think they say, really good writing. So that's that. And then after that, we turned Ridgeway into kind of pagan processional pathway. And then that sort of impulse of ritualising journeying would turn into a kind of religious act by the early Celtic Christians. And then what they do is they venture out of their places of worship to actually bless the natural world. So it was slightly different. They would power up in their hermitages and learn all of them, be peaceful and prayerful. But then once they ritual up a lot of spiritual use, they go out into the land and then they bless the land. And that would be the way they did it back then. So it's sort of opposite of what we now think of as pilgrimage. And then it shifted into the medieval, which is more. If people say pilgrimage now, they think of the medieval one where you go from shrine to shrine and there's something that you're carrying with you and idea. But it's got this big history, and you could argue the sun makes pilgrimage, or the earth makes pilgrimage around the sun around the earth. I mean, where do you stop as a concept? It's everywhere. So if you think of pilgrimage having different logics, so there are those that follow a river from source to sea. Those follow geological fault line, the ley line, returning this to our ancestral places, or from medieval shrine to medieval shrine. Now, pilgrimage stopped, and we sort of know why. Most of us know why. It's basically this is the problem with modern day pilgrimage in Britain, which is that Henry VIII banned it in 1538. So that's a bit of a problem because it sort of made the top of the land bury something in such a strong way. It leaves something for the rest of the time, and little tricks. So we've got a bit of a problem, a bit of a difficult grounding issue. And so this is on monasteries as well. So you destroy the low-cost accommodation infrastructure. It was a kind of church that was rebranded against Catholic traditions of making pilgrimage. And I think there's this new philosophy of like the book and the word of God, the Bible, the book, the ideas. And that was what was really promoted by people like Erasmus. And basically, Erasmus was like an intellectual guy, and he wanted things to become more about the mind and like going on a mental journey rather than a physical body journey. So all the body parts of religion, like smells, bells, making pilgrimage, touching shrines, all those kinds of things, they got pushed aside because they were seen as body, and the body was seen as lower. So that's one of the reasons for it. So right now, how it's used. And then they wanted ladies to work on the land, not make pointless journeys. It was a legitimate holiday or a holy day, so you could actually go away and say, I'm going on pilgrimage, and you're sort of, and so they kind of had to let you do it, they wouldn't want you to do it. So there's that. So we thought, when we were starting the British pilgrimage stuff, we thought, this was in 2014, like, is there too much baggage with this word, you know? Some people said, you shouldn't call it pilgrimage, like that's a bit religious and people won't like it, and you might not get many people. We thought, yeah, it's kind of a powerful word, so let's just go with power and try and redirect that power to a new way of thinking about it. And that's kind of what we did in this sort of like, it's now people are talking about it. So we're thinking origins of pilgrimage as transformation. So journeys of transformation are like the cornerstone of literature, Western literature. If you think of books like the Odyssey and the Iliad, they're passed thousands of years ago by word of mouth, and then of course the Hobbit as well. This idea of there and back again. The idea, the commonality is you leave home, you go on lots of adventures, and then you eventually come back changed. And that's fundamentally it, and that's what pilgrimage is. So it's interesting that if you go to a bookshop, there's huge travel sections. You know, it's like, and they were the first books, they were the first stories told. So there's a lot there for the narrative of our soul and to work with. And also the good thing about it, I talk to journalists, and they say, this is great, it's pilgrimage, because there's always a different angle. You can always write a new story about it, because each person is different. And I think that's one of the nice things to work. And we do see, like in therapeutic workshops, which are on the rise, you know, this idea of internal transformation, the idea of going from here to there, and also religions too, you know, transforming stuff. And that's here to there internally. But you go externally, you actually walk from here to there. Weirdly, that affects the way your soul lives. It can go from here to there. So it's kind of mirror between the land and yourself and the land and yourself. And that's wonderful. I came across an ancient Chaucerian definition for a pilgrim. Someone asked me on Twitter this morning, actually, what is a pilgrim? I thought, I've defined pilgrimage. What's a pilgrim? Years ago. One of the journeys towards an unknown destination with a true heart. I think I'll work with it, but I think it's it doesn't matter what the destination is if your heart is true. I think that trueness is the heart. Interesting phrase, I don't know what it is, but it kind of feels like it is. So why do we need pilgrims today? So this need for meaning and purpose when you journey, there's never gone away. And now what we're finding is all these different therapies, they're all kind of specialised, they're discrete in terms of the way they're separated from each other. But pilgrimage offers a single process or continual practice that ties all of these things together. So your physical needs, your emotional needs, your mental needs, the environmental needs, the social needs, and the spiritual needs. And it's all in one thing. So it's really great. And I think this baseline spiritual activity has lots of potential cross-cultural spiritual practices within. Like you can do on pilgrimage, you can do all of these things, and so it's like a big container. It's like meditation, gratitude, rituals, holy days and festivals. You can connect with non-human nature, plants, animals, sing, chant, pray, be silent, and many more other spiritual practices like that. So there's a versatility to it. You go on top of a hill, better than being in the room. There's so many trade-offs. And also, I think this is a really, really key point, and I think this is the one, this is the real reason why pilgrimage is successful. Money, particularly, so public health, what can offer public health is crucial. We're seeing so many prescribing on the NHS because they're running out of money and they need to find better ways of making people better. And but not with therapies like that requires you to have a therapist, which you might not trust. They may be really touchy, they may not be good, or they may be great, but just don't know that. So to have a journey to a therapist, where the journey itself is a therapist, is a kind of a really nice switch, and I think cheaper as well for the NHS. That's always good. So I think another thing to talk about is this difference between tourism and hiking versus pilgrimage. So there's a kind of tourism has a secularized relationship with holy places, and it sort of comes out of the Reformation, what happened, as we talked about. The importance of building, even now, Archbishop Canterbury saying buildings don't really matter. It's an interesting time, and we should say that. And so you can see hiking as a kind of secularized journey, but anything secular, religious, but then pilgrimage doesn't need to be specifically spiritual or religious. It can just be walking with purpose. Reconnecting with yourself and nature, or walking in trust. I think that idea, if you don't have a purpose, you might not have a purpose. So just walking in trust, the journey will give you something. It's the magic too. Okay, so we did a survey of 13,000 people responded to these. Asking out of total 15 reasons why people would do pilgrimage, we came up with 4 most commonly said this is why I would do pilgrimage. Number 4 is cultural heritage. 3 is spirituality. 2 is connecting with nature. And 1 is emotional well-being. So we're going to go through them. This is like the origin of pilgrimage, actually. So what's at the heart of it? And so pilgrim places like churches, prehistoric sites, they're packed full of stories and communities that live there and that died there, and there's chaos in the community as well. You see the trace of it. So we're human, obviously, and so things particularly human concern interest us, our residents we have. They're like folklore, songs, craft, art, architecture, tales of endurance, generosity, grief, love, and all these things you can see in the communities you go through. And so when you connect with art, crafts, and the lives that lived in a place over hundreds of thousands of years, we can make conscious our collective inheritance. And it's like our collective unconscious, we're making it, we're seeing it, and we see what we come from, and that's really important. There's also churches are places for the churches are part of the community. There's places of community, baptism, marriage, funerals. There's local artwork, masonry, gravestones for people of high and low status, memorials, stories told in stained glass, places where you can get silence as well. So they offer a lot. People don't always believe the same thing, so they do need these places, churches and sacred places, for collective witness. So being married is the most important thing to get all the people that matter to the world, and they collectively witness the fact of getting married, so they know this actually happened. That's the point in destination weddings means that they're going to stay actually witness. So that's an interesting insight. You can always think pilgrimage routes themselves as like artifacts of cultural heritage. So the routes themselves are kind of heritage bits. Because you're connecting with all of the purposeful walkers before you. And the sense, it gives you an expanded sense of being, a feeling of wholeness. And the word holy comes from the Old English pali, meaning whole, healthy, holistic holidays, happy days. So I think that's the cultural heritage section. And I think cultural heritage is, it's about ancestral honouring. That's what I started to realise. That's what heritage really is about connecting your ancestors. Simple as that. It's a kind of secularised ancestral works, you know, even just the other thing. So the next reason, the third reason, spirituality through pilgrimage. Now this comes, I think, predominantly through connecting with the spirit of place. Now this is complicated because it's not easy to reduce a place to what it looks or sounds like. So I think a spirit of place, more how a place makes you feel inside your heart. I think that's and then that's one thing. That's a place making you feel something inside your heart. And then there's this other meaning, which is more intangible, which is you feel the place's ownership, which is the different things happening is usually a bit like empathy. It's like, can you feel the other person's rather than your own? So that's important. English doesn't really have a vocabulary for describing spirit of place. We have to use that phrase, it's like spirit of place. I think Welsh does in the word guide. I don't know if there's an Irish word for spirit of place, but it'd be interesting to know like how they deal with it linguistically. But I think the best look is like places have a soul. And it's like it's hidden behind the place's visual appearance, its smell, its sounds, its functional purpose. And it's like people do virtual things about one of the reasons I don't obviously because I do it a lot and go to lots of places. I'm sort of more into it maybe than others. But for me it's like I like to know the soul of the place, I try to feel the place. It's like not like collectors giving. I don't really think about that, but you get to feel different places. It's just a wonderful. There are 42 ancient cathedrals, for example, there are like thousands of holy wells and ancient trees, and they all feel different. I know they have to be exactly the same. Some are more healing than others. So the second most important reason, apart from the emotional one, is connecting with nature. And interesting that seems more important than spirituality. And I think that's because our culture, beset with nature deficit disorder. And so we need to connect with nature, and it's that different, connecting with nature is different to just simply being in it. I mean, anyone can be in nature, but connecting is a bit more active. So like, I think of it as like a conversation, and imagine what it means to have a conversation with a plant, or an animal, or a tree, or river source, a hill, or a waterfall. You know, how do you converse with these places? And some people get embarrassed, and some people they say, I'm a tree man, plant tree. And then I think, why wouldn't you want to have a connection with a tree? Like, why wouldn't you want to? Like, it's got a nice thing to do, there's nothing wrong about it. It's an option, it's there, so I think just put it back on there. Similarly, empathizing with what a bird might be feeling as it flies around, you know. Don't know what's a bird feeling. That sort of brings you out of yourself, it's makes you connect. And also, rather than just looking at nice things like a waterfall stuff, what about the waterfall? You actually get in the pool beneath it, you actually be in the water, not just look at the water. I think that's the important thing. You've got so many senses. You've got all the way there, you might as well get even further, get even closer. So, but the most important reason is emotional well-being. Doesn't really care about ourselves, let's say. So most of the basics for pilgrimage lend themselves to this. So, like having a solid purpose. At any one moment, we've all got at least one question we want answering, something we want to bring into our lives and that go on. And so, start your pilgrimage with that. One to five, or nothing at all, it's just to see what the journey brings you. Then you need a good destination, the same thing. So a traditional destination like cathedral, ancient shrine, that's a traditional destination. Or that's obviously maybe an ancestor's grave, where your family are going. It's not necessarily a destination for everyone else, it's definitely a destination for you. Or it's a bit more abstract. A place where you felt loved. It's something that's really important. Go there and reconnect that part of yourself. An excellent structure of a pilgrimage, like a destination is walking a river from source to sea, because in a sense, the destination is the whole river, or the start to the finish. And maybe walk the one closest to where you're born or where you live. That's a good place to live. There you go. And yeah. So the next sort of idea is having an open, relaxed mind, and that walking lends you being to have an open, relaxed mind. It's kind of a natural meditation. You don't need to try and meditate. In order to try to meditate, you're not very good at it. Walking kind of just automatically slightly gets you into that mind zone. So that's good. I think this narrative of intention, destination, and walk, that's what distinguishes a pilgrimage from a walk. Is that structure. And then one other thing that is really important is being in a state of foolishness, openness to experience. Like the fool in the tarot deck is walking off the edge of the cliff, and he's looking very happy about it. Banner is back, a dog, sometimes a white bird is walking off the edge of the cliff. And I think that's what pilgrims should feel like. You know? When I met people just before they're about to go on a very long pilgrimage, there's always this sense of why on earth am I doing this? Always, like, no one's like totally happy about it. No one's totally excited. They're all like, what am I doing? And they don't even know. They're doing it anyway. I think that's the foolishness. So just look at everything fresh like a child. Plants, animals, birds, landscapes, skies, paths, villages, architecture, locals, strangers, stories, sounds, smells, textures, weather. So much going on for you all the time. Just keep open to it, being with it. And also the other thing is good, so walking along the path next to people, if you're not doing it on your own. But you're not looking at them in the eyes, and that makes a big difference when you're walking. Looking someone in the eyes makes it harder for some reason, especially if you don't know them. So you can do that, but often people find it easy to And then of course there's the physical health bit, which is the fifth reason I included it, because I think this is another aspect of the public health argument, which is that walking is a form of physical exercise done by most people across your whole lifespan. I mean, there aren't many forms of physical activity that can be done your whole life. This is not. So, we should probably just not too much. So I myself, when I first made my first book, I was going through a bit of a mental health crisis, not knowing where I was going with my life, a bit depressed, frustrated, this kind of things, you know. And I was trying to learn the different spiritual traditions, and I saw all of them as having something to offer, but all their different belief emphases were very confusing. So I didn't know whether I knew that I wanted this, but when I saw this practice, it brought it all together in one thing. That's great. I mean, it sort of solves the problem. All these different wonderful traditions, not knowing how to bring them together. And I pilgrimage together, it makes loads of different kinds of pilgrimage places, like parish church, chapel, cathedral, as you'd expect, and mosque, synagogue, temple, hermitage, holy well, ancient tree, ancient monument, war memorial, grave, cave, waterfall, source, mouth of river, island, and hilltop. They're all pilgrimage places, and linking them all together is just the most amazing sort of kaleidoscopic experience. If you don't want to, yeah, but most importantly, it's got to be open to all. We suggest people bring their own beliefs. It's practice in a process, not a belief. Pilgrimage is not say it's a belief, it's just you have to do it. You can't just talk about it, think about it, you have to actually do it. This opens a tradition for atheists, Druids, Muslims, Christians, but they all walk alongside each other. To be honest, it's better if they do, because they're more interesting conversations. The main thing is how you do it. And so there are sort of